So today's project is going to be a new kitchen floor. And my wife has picked out these tiles from Lowe's, and they measure pretty close. That's my coffee pot hissing in the background, by the way. 2 feet by 1 feet. So they're pretty large tiles. And they are the Smart Core Ultra waterproof flooring, and that's why we're putting it in the kitchen. We've had great success with it upstairs, or with regular laminate upstairs, so we're going to try to repeat that same success. But the first thing I want to go over is where to start in the center line of your room. First off, do not assume that any of your walls are straight, because I guarantee you they are not. So starting with one tile butted up against the wall is not usually good. Usually you want to finish with a cut tile no matter what, because that'll give you some ability to adjust and fill in the gaps, and then you don't want to be filling with a 1/4 inch slice at the end to make it look good going under the trim. So with that being said, each tile is about 1 foot wide. I want to run them this way, and if I go 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, starting at the wall all the way over to here, 11 feet is right there, and there's the carpet, which seems like it'd be pretty good. I finished with about a half a tile until you realize that this is the entrance way to the living room. And I have that wall there, and that wall, if I move this over, looks like it would land just past the 11-foot mark. So what I actually want to do is go ahead and move this 7 inches there. I'm going to move it roughly to there, 11 foot, and then I'm going to mark my center line at 6 feet, and that'll give me 5 on this side and 5 on that side, with the center of the room actually being a full tile. And that'll leave me, wait, let me grab my tile so you get a visual representation of what I'm talking about. That'll leave me this much of a tile from here over on the edge, over here, roughly, because like I said, this, I guarantee this wall's not true. And if I put a tile right to there, you can see I got a good bit of tile left over. And if I'm off a little bit here, it's a short run for one, so even if I lose like 1 inch, I could just put down a little bit larger transition strip. That's my thought. Plus we're not actually at 10 feet, so like that actually goes into the carpet a little bit. So that's step one, and then we're gonna have to mark this, and then figure out from the cabinet. Now if you just have a wall, you just go over, measure what you have here to the mark, and then repeat it over there. But since we don't, we're gonna have to figure out a way to put figure out how wide the cabinet base is, and then move it over and mark it, so that way, and then we'll chalk a line. That'll be our straight edge, and then we're going to figure out our how am I going to put this, our stagger, because if this was a wood floor and I did it upstairs, we just did it at random start, random stop, because that's how a wood floor is. Whenever you're doing a tile floor, typically they're not random, they're in a pattern. And the first thought is, well, it'll be easy if I just line them all up straight. The problem with that is number one, it's almost impossible to do. Even if you're off just an 1/8 of an inch every other tile or so, your eye's going to catch that. So you're better off to stagger them, so you have one starting in the middle of the other, and that way your eye won't catch the straight line. To give you an example, I'm going to go upstairs and show you what the random one. If you're using a wood-based tile, then you could, once you get your center line down, you can just start throwing them down. because I'm using a ceramic tile, appearing tile, if I could say that. Yeah, I guess I could say that. It's going to be a little different, and I'll show you what I got going on. Hold on. So, to the refrigerator, right at 14 feet. Okay, actually we're about an inch over 14 feet, but I don't want to end it right there, like, oh, you can just run a full tile. No, because we're about an inch over, and I don't want to play with a half-inch gap trying to cover it with the... Just trust me, you'd rather cut them. It looks better in the end. It might be more work in the beginning. So, but since I'm running a stagger, so that means one's going to be 2 feet and one's going to be 1 foot. You know what I mean? One's going to sit here and the other one's going to sit, well, I don't have another hand, but let me see if I can do this with 2 tiles. Sorry. I'm not going to interlock these, but I'll give you an idea. Yeah. That and I have them on the wrong side, but one's going to be this way, one's going to be that way. So at the worst, I want to end roughly in the middle here, between this and here. So I took 6 inches. I went to the middle of a foot, which is 6 inches, because that's what space I have to play with here. Between here and here is roughly a foot, because this is 2 feet. So 1 foot here. So I want to end somewhere in here. So ideally about 6 inches. So it's right in the middle. So I have a nice decent sized chunk to play with, but it gives me leverage on either side. So I cut a little longer, cut a little shorter as I have to. So I took 6 inches off. First I moved it back a foot. 1 foot, 2 foot. So we're on the odd number feet. So 13, 11, 10, 9, or 11, 9, 7 foot. Okay, that brought me to here. Now that would still end, with a clean sheet tile up against the edge with about a 6-inch gap. But for the other one, because we're going a foot the other way, you know what I mean? This might be something you have to watch for a minute to get the idea of what I'm talking about, but because I'm 1 foot, you know, I'm staggering them by 1 foot, sit 12 inches, that means my other tile would butt right up against the edge. So while I'd land in the middle on one, I'd be butted right up against the edge on the other and not have any room to cut a tile. So I took 7 feet and I took another 6 inches, so that should land me right in the middle all the way across there, where I'll have to cut every single tile. Now what I'm going to have to check, and from here it doesn't look too bad, because that should land me right about 10 feet and a couple inches to that edge. So that'll be good. That'll give me a chunk to cut off there. And what else am I going to have to check? I have to check a couple things, because I mean there's all kinds of play in this, and you can't assume that your walls are straight. So what you're going to have to do is lay it out on the ground and then measure every corner. Once you get your center line, your cross line, get that measured every corner, and then I'm going to measure a foot off this center line, put another mark, and then that's going to help me with my stagger the whole way across. Are we clear as mud on that? I think I'm very clear as mud. But anyway, this is what I got going on. Don't ever assume your walls are true, because they're not. They lie a lot. So I got a nail there, and I got a nail there. And if you want to extend your chalk line, try to do this with one hand, out past your nail, instead of wrapping around it, use it as a guide. Put your string right up against it. Sorry. And then give her a snap. And there you go. Now we're going to do the same thing the other way, and then I'm going to pull those nails up. Don't worry about, I just tapped them in. But that little bit of a hole ain't gonna make any difference to your floor. Alright, so we've got our original center line. Then we got our cross line, which I just used my T-square and laid it out. 48 inches, 4 feet on either side. That gives me an 8-foot run. Now I measured 1 foot up from that, because like I said, these are 2-foot tiles, so that'll put 1 foot, 1 foot, and then the line, and they're going to separate. Alright, you don't have to take your floor completely up. I did because it was easy, but we're going to get started here and click together some tiles. Yeah. So before I told you about centering up your floor so you have a big chunk, a nice sized chunk to mess with, well, there's my gap to the wall from where I measured. So it's roughly like 6-7 inches. What you're trying to avoid is what you can see right here, where you got like 1.5 inch strip. I mean, it's impossible to do everywhere, but if you can avoid it, you can avoid it. The reason I have it is because that's first off going under my fridge, so I'm not too concerned with this area. This is why this is the first area I brought it out to the wall. So if I make mistakes, like a little bit right there, that gap's kind of a little wide right there. But at the same fact is, once I push my fridge over top of it, you'll never know. But other than that, we're trucking right along. This is about midday. Oh, it is midday. I'm going to push this fridge back, plug it in, and get some sustenance. Then we'll continue on. The next big challenge will be this, getting underneath there. Fun, fun. Oh, and to roll my fridge up and onto the new floor, I used a sheet of Luan over there. Sorry for spinning the camera around so much, but kind of trying to get this done and maybe film a video at the same time. Okay, bye. Alright, we're moving right along. And as you can see, we're underneath the dishwasher now and underneath the fridge. I'm going to cure up this strip next. Carry that all the way out. I probably shouldn't have put that piece in yet, but I can take it back out. Not a big deal. But to show you why measuring pays off, like look at that. Like realistically, I don't even have to trim that. I probably will just to keep it happy, but I mean it's not lined up, but it's just showing you the gap. And then I'll have about a 6-inch notch over here. So I'll actually have to notch this piece to fit there because you know, it's got to go around the wall. And if I played my cards right, I should be able, that edge should almost line up. Well, you can tell actually it'll go from here to there, so I won't have to notch out the middle one, which is another thing I was worried about. But I'm going to sweep up some debris and keep on trucking. Alright, it might be a little hard to see, but you see how I have almost a full tile over here and about a half tile going up, chasing up that wall, and then across both walls it goes like 3/4 tile, quarter tile, 3/4 tile, quarter tile, and over to here we got roughly half a tile, and then up there in front of the cabinets we got most of a tile, and then where it ends underneath there it's quarter tile, 3/4, quarter, 3/4, and that helps make the room seems more centered, and it makes them easier to deal with. If you only have like a strip, like you got to try to fit like a 1 inch in, that really sucks. But what's also nice, and like I said, if you use wood, you just do them at random. But if you do, like these are supposed to look like ceramic tiles, if you use those, I highly recommend you stagger them about half, because then if you were to chase like a line across and be over like 1/8 of an inch and then go, their eye's gonna pick up on that. Whereas by staggering them, trying to find an exaggerated spot here where it's fairly evident, but Yeah, right there. That'll work. As I get this tag out of the way. If I line it up perfectly here, you can actually see I'm roughly a 1/4 inch off, and I think I'm a little further off than that. But if I put that away and you look across, nobody is the wiser. And you don't have to be so perfect. I mean, these lines are easy because if you get those ones off, it means you didn't click your tile together. But to get them to line up this way perfect, you're gonna beat your brain in. But yeah, that's about it for this video. I'm not gonna get too much into too much else, except for maybe I might do a video on trim. And my dog's nervous. He likes to be close to me, but anyway, he doesn't know where to be because sometimes I'm out there cutting, sometimes I'm in here laying it, sometimes I'm out there cutting, and he doesn't know how to be in my way. In the way. Alright, I'm done. So after watching my floor video, I thought I'd show you more about what I was talking about. Whenever you try to straighten up your lines in every direction and then they end up looking off. Like you can see, these lines here match up fairly well. But if your eye follows, I'll zoom in a little bit. Your eye follows it, you do notice when it's off a lot. But like I said before, whenever you stagger them, you could be off that 1/2 inch or so and never notice it. And then this is a wooden pattern floor, which is a random pattern that I did earlier. You can see we got like an edge there, an edge there, an edge there, and these ones are kind of easy to do because you can just use whatever cutoff you have from the other arrow to start your next row and keep going, but you still want to keep in mind that you're going to try to have about a 1/2, which I didn't quite do it here, about a 1/2 of, oh no wait, that's a full, almost a full, you have to a full edge as a cutoff, because you don't want to end up with, and I'll show you it out here where I messed up a little bit, and I hope you can see it, so I'm kind of standing in my own shadow. But that is all the smaller I would ever try to do. That was a pain in the butt because that sucker's like 1.5 inches wide in the whole length. And then you're stripping boards down to do that, and it's just tough. Then you gotta pull them in this way. So yeah, just tips and tricks. And here's the mostly finished kitchen. And like I said, if you stagger it out right, like these two here, they could be a 1/2 inch off, and you would never know. And that's what's kind of nice about staggering them. And it still looks intentional, you know what I mean? Alright, that's it for this video. I'm gonna go and enjoy the rest of my Sunday.